What's good, NBA family, and welcome back to another video. If you're a returner, it's good to see you, my boy. If you new and love hoops, make sure you smash that subscribe button to stay up to date with all the latest NBA news, drama alerts, and debates. But let's go ahead and get into today's video, y'all. Man, Karl got traded to the New York Knicks. This absolutely came out of nowhere. Big splash, blockbuster move. Caught me and I think the rest of the NBA world by surprise. And what we're going to do in this video, y'all, we are going to get into this trade. We're going to talk about it from the Timberwolves perspective, the Knicks perspective, and then in the end. So stay tuned all the way to the end. We are going to get into who I believe won this trade. So let's go ahead and jump straight into it, y'all. The official trade was that the New York Knicks sent Julius Randle, Divincenzo, and a first-round pick to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Karl Towns, and the Hornets were also a part of this trade just to absorb some additional salary. But let's go ahead and talk about it, y'all. Let's kind of jump into it and give my initial thoughts. I mean, originally, I'm not gonna lie, y'all, when I first seen this hit my phone, I was actually playing basketball. I was hooping, and then one game ended. I went to go check my phone, and I see Karl Towns traded to the Knicks. What? And shout out my boy Eshawn, because he actually texted me this. I was just mind boggled, y'all. I went all around running the gym, telling everybody. So this definitely came out of nowhere. I didn't even hear like a rumbling about it prior to it happening. I know a lot of the times, like when you're really tapped into the NBA, you can kind of hear some rumors coming up, and then it happens. But I didn't hear anything. And I also heard that Karl Towns didn't even request a trade. So very interesting. Let's talk about it, though, y'all. I mean, in my opinion, this was one of those fair trades. Kind of reminds me of that Sabonis and Tyrese Halliburton trade with the Kings and the Pacers, to where it's like, I mean, both teams really won. Both teams excelled, and both teams got the pieces that they needed. And that's kind of what it reminds me of with this situation here. I mean, let's first start with the Timberwolves, right? Let's look at it from their perspective at first. Initially, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I really thought the Timberwolves, they just ruined everything, because their multiple big lineups was literally the reason that they were able to beat Jokic and the Nuggets. And then I remember to myself, like, man, they didn't ruin everything because they still have Naz Reid. Naz Reid provides the Timberwolves insurance with this trade, y'all. The Timberwolves are betting it all on Naz Reid being able to excel at the same level that Karl Towns did, or even more than he did. But at the same time, y'all, they're also getting deeper in the wing with Julius Randle and with Divincenzo, and that first-round pick that will convey into something real good in the future. We'll get into that a little bit later. But also, y'all, I mean, let's talk about that addition, right? Let's talk about the addition of Dante and Julius Randle, because, yes, Naz Reid provides them insurance, but he was already on this team. Let's talk about the new pieces. Divincenzo, y'all, he is an elite shooter. The last 2 years, he shot over 40% from the three-point line, and I think that on this team, y'all, he's going to fit like a glove. He's going to have a big year, because not only is he playing next to Mike Conley, who's a floor general, who's just going to be able to set up Dante so easy and get him easy looks, but also Divincenzo is going to be playing next to Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards, who has just continued to make leaps and leaps and leaps and gotten better and better and better year after year. Anthony Edwards is going to be seeing more doubles this year. And when you see more doubles, guess what? Somebody is open on the court. And if you have a Divincenzo open on that wing, open in that corner, open at the top, because Anthony Edwards is getting doubled and he can just make that right pass, man, I think Divincenzo is going to enjoy the open looks he's going to get this year. And maybe he doesn't get open looks because the defense is now saying, yo, I can't go double Anthony Edwards because I got Dante wide open here in the corner, wide open here in the wing, and I can't leave him. So now that makes it a little bit easier for Anthony Edwards, because great players like that, generational talents like that, they love one-on-one matchups. They eat that up all day, man. But let's talk about Julius Randle, though, because, Julius Randle, he's an elite, not just shooter. He's an elite all-around scorer, y'all. I mean, since 2020, he's been averaging 24 points per game, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. And, yes, his stock is low right now as far as October 1st, 2024. His stock is kind of low because of what he's been through recently. But don't get it twisted, y'all. Julius Randle is a very good player. He is a very good 1B type of player. And the crazy thing is, and the reason why the Timberwolves really, struck some gold with this one is because, he is a really good 1B type of player. And guess what? Julius Randle, with how good this team is, might not even have to be a 1B on this team. Also, Julius Randle, his play style and the physicality really matches with how the Timberwolves likes to play, man. Let's also not forget that the Timberwolves did this offseason lose Kyle Anderson and Jordan McLaughlin, who were two solid role players off the bench for them. But now you're bringing in Dante Divincenzo and Julius Randle, who can just plug up that hole right away. This move, bringing in Dante, bringing in Julius Randle, also gives the Timberwolves a lot more flexibility with as far as lineups that they want to run, right? If they still want to go with that Twin Tower lineups, when they had that Twin Tower of Cat and Rudy Gobert, they can still do that. But just instead of Cat, it'll be Naz Reid and Rudy Gobert. So they can still throw them at the 4 and 5. But if they want to go a little bit smaller than that, but still bigger than most teams around the league, then they can just simply go with, Rudy Gobert at the 5 and Julius Randle at the 4, or Naz Reid at the 5 and Julius Randle at the 4. So that's why I'm saying, like, it really gives them versatility with as far as their lineups, which as far as the type of lineups that they can put out there. Also, another thing that this move does for the Timberwolves is that it just gives them the ability to be good for longer, right? I mean, it's not me trying to hate, but it's me just being real. When the Timberwolves were balling out with Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, and Rudy Gobert, the one thing I kept saying was, yes, they're doing good, but how are they going to be able to keep these three players? Top heavy teams almost never have success in the league because you're paying those guys top heavy money, right? But guess what? This move now opened up that space to where they don't got to be a top heavy team. They can have Anthony Edwards. They can have the Rudy Goberts. They can add the Julius Randle, the Dante DiVincenzos, the Mike Conleys. They can still have the Jaden McDaniels. They can have the extremely deep team and still be able to bring on pieces and have the flexibility of, if you want to re-sign somebody or if you want to sign somebody in the offseason. So, I mean, overall, y'all, I just think that the potential rewards far outweigh the risks here. Because if you ask yourself, like, what's the risk of losing Karl Anthony Towns if you have Naz Reid? Like, what's the risk? Naz Reid is making his way up and could be the same player of Karl Anthony Towns, if not better. I mean, he just won the 6th Man of the Year this last year. There was multiple teams in the league that he could have gone on and started. So now he might get that starting role. And then, a question that I like to ask myself is, the most important question is, does this bring them closer to the championship? Because in my opinion, basketball, and you play in the NBA to win championships, not to make money. You make money, that's an add-on, that's a gift, good. But you play to be a winner and win championships. And does this move bring the Timberwolves closer to that championship? Yes, it absolutely does. It makes them deeper. Last year, the number one thing they struggled with was the fact that it had to be Karl Anthony Towns or Anthony Edwards making everything happen every time late in the playoffs. But the thing that was hard on them is that Karl Anthony Towns really struggled to get it going. So realistically, it was just Anthony Edwards trying to get everything going by himself. So now you're adding in Julius Randle. You're adding in Dante DiVincenzo, two players who can contribute. Two players who can be huge for them, whether in the starting role or off the bench. So in my opinion, yes, this definitely does bring them closer to the championship. Now, let's look at it from the Knicks perspective, because I'm going to be honest, y'all, since this trade has gone down, I have not been this excited to watch Knicks basketball since Carmelo Anthony and Amari Stoudemire. I'm going to be real with y'all, man. But another thing I'm going to be real with y'all on is the fact that I do think, I'm going to be honest, y'all, I do think that the Knicks gave up a bit too much letting go of Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and that first round pick when, mind you, the trade that they did earlier in the offseason when they bought in Mikal Bridges, they already gave up 5 first round picks, y'all. They already gave up 5. So on top of that, they just gave up another first round pick. So I do think that is a lot to give up. But I also know that when you have a chance to go for it, when you have a chance to win it all, you got to go all in, man. You got to go all in. And acquiring Karl Anthony Towns easily gives them the best lineup in the league, in my opinion. I mean, you got Jalen Brunson, you got Mikal Bridges, you got OG Anunoby, you got Josh Hart, and you got Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, this is a defensive starting 5. This is basically like a 3-and-D starting 5. These are the type of players that the rest of the league wants. Guys who can play defense, also knock down open shots, and space the floor. That's exactly what all 5 of these guys do. So their starting lineup is honestly great. I'm gonna be honest. I really do think that it'll be best starting lineup in the league. I'm gonna be honest with you. So, with this trade, yes, you bring in the floor spacers, you bring in one of the best big men that NY has seen in a long, long, long time. But also with this trade, what you're doing is you're helping Jalen Brunson go to a whole nother level. I mean, if you thought you saw good Jalen Brunson this last year, watch what he do playing with Karl Towns. That two-man game is going to be crazy. Pick and roll, pick and pop. They're going to be, honestly, abusing the rest of the league. And I'm excited to see that. But also, the space that Karl Towns is going to provide for a player like Jalen Brunson, man. Jalen Brunson operates so well in open space. He needs to have the open floor. If he can have the open floor and just operate in that, man, just know that Jalen Brunson is going to have an all-star year. And guess what? This last season, they built a team around so that he has a lot of space, so he can operate in space. Now, with bringing in Karl Towns, you're doing that 10x. You're doing that 10x, man. So I think that Jalen Brunson, he'll have an even better year. I mean, overall, I'm going to be real with you guys. I think the Knicks needed a center, and they got a center. The best center that they've had in their team in a long time. So they struck gold with that. But I'm going to be real with y'all. I do have some concerns as far as the Knicks. And firstly, my first concern is the depth. I mean, this team went from one of the deepest teams in the league to not really that deep. After that amazing starting five of JB, Mikal, OG, Josh Hart, and Karl Towns, they really only have Miles McBride off the bench, Precious Achiuwa, who's a small big, and Mitchell Robinson, who's always hurt. So really, only Miles McBride is going to be able to provide them solid minutes. And that's very concerning when you remember that Tom Thibodeau coaches these players. Tom Thibodeau likes to run his players into the ground by playing them so much. So to have a deep team would be very beneficial when you play for a Tom Thibodeau type team and when you have such a thin bench. My second concern with this Knicks team is that they're simply betting it all on Karl Towns. I mean, they're betting it all on Karl Towns to be this defensive anchor of that team. And mind you, 2 years ago, the Timberwolves traded for Rudy Gobert so he can be the defensive anchor of that team because they did not believe that Karl Towns could be the defensive anchor of a championship level team. So that draws a little bit of concern because now the Knicks are banking on Cat to be able to be the center and anchor that defense when I feel like we just seen that he can't do that at a championship level. And if you're bringing on Cat, you better not be bringing on Cat to just get incrementally better. You better bring it on Cat to be looking to cash in that championship, right? Overall, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I just do think that the Knicks struck gold by bringing in Karl Towns, one of the best bigs that they've had in New York in a long time. He does like 10x of everything that Isaiah Hartenstein did last year and provides them more space. So they definitely got better in that perspective. But y'all know what the real question is, man. I asked it with the Timberwolves. Now I'm gonna ask it with the Knicks. Does this move make the Knicks a contender? And yes, their starting lineup got much better. Probably have the best starting lineup in the entire NBA, like I said. But I do not think this team currently constructed could win a championship. And here's why. I mean, if you look back to the last 5 to 8 to 10 champions that we've had, almost every single champion has had the deepest team in the league that year. They were the deepest team or one of the close to the deepest teams. And that's because depth matters in the league, y'all. Depth matters in the league for a lot of reasons, especially when you play on a team that gets coached by Tom Thibodeau and runs his players into the ground. But not even just that. Depth matter because you need to be able to have fresh legs out there because y'all got to remember, y'all, like these generational, elite, talented players, they're so good at basketball, y'all. You have to throw multiple looks at them. You have to throw multiple bodies at them. So here, now I want you to get a taste of a smaller player guarding you. Now I get a taste of a bigger player guarding you. Now I get a taste of a stronger player guarding you. And you got to just keep throwing different looks at them. And for you to be able to do that, you have to be able to have a deep team. And with the issue with the Knicks is that they don't really have that deep team. And if you continue to just throw one defender, and just one defender at an elite player for an entire game, for an entire series, man, that player is going to go off. These players are too good and too elite. You cannot keep one defender on them for an entire game, for an entire series. They will figure them out and fry them, man. So in this video, y'all, we talked about the Knicks perspective. We talked about the Timberwolves perspective. And I told y'all in the beginning we would talk about who is the winner. So I'm going to give you guys who I think is the winner between the Timberwolves and the Knicks, and that is the Timberwolves, man. I think it's got to be the Timberwolves. And the reason why I say it's the Timberwolves is because, look, man, it answered the biggest question and the biggest problem that they had last year, right? Which is they needed more guards. They needed to have more of a deeper team. So they answered that question. It gave them depth. It allowed them to be able to be good for longer because, like I said, they're not stuck with their hands tied between paying Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, and Rudy Gobert. They're gonna be able to be better for longer, deeper, and it answers their immediate question in the glaring hole that they had. So there it is, y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Just wanted to give you guys my thoughts on this Karl Anthony Towns trade. Let me know you guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. You think I'm wrong? You think I'm right? Let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know who you think won. And hey, man, I love you. We got 1,000 subscribers. Let's keep growing. This is honestly my favorite thing to do. So I just love, being on camera here with you guys, talking basketball here with you guys. So I appreciate every single one of you out there. Stay tuned. Follow Instagram at Clutch Talk Pod. Follow TikTok at Clutch Talk Pod as well. And then also subscribe as always. But for now, I'm out of here, y'all. Deuces.